इमेजिन करो दोस्त, अगर सडनली देश में हर कोई डिसाइड करता है कि हे आई नीड टू सेव मोर मनी, तो कॉमन सेंस क्या कहता है?
यही कि टोटल सेविंग्स बढ़ जाएंगी ऑब्वियसली।
यही ना कि एज अ कंट्री हमारी टोटल सेविंग्स स्काई रॉकेट कर जाएंगी।
बिल्कुल।
बट होल्ड ऑन, मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में कॉमन सेंस कभी कभी एक ट्रैप होता है। व्हाट इफ आई टोल्ड यू कि अगर हम सब एक साथ ज्यादा सेव करने की कोशिश करें तो हो सकता है कि टोटल सेविंग्स बढ़ने की जगह उतनी ही रहें या शायद कम भी हो जाए।
हाँ एग्जैक्टली।
माइंड ब्लोइंग है ना?
एग्जैक्टली और इसी माइंड बेंडिंग आइडिया को कहते हैं द पैराडॉक्स ऑफ थ्रिफ्ट। इट्स वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फैसिनेटिंग कॉन्सेप्ट्स आउट देयर।
क्या बात है।
एंड इट शोज कि जो एक इंडिविजुअल के लिए स्मार्ट है वो पूरी इकोनॉमी के लिए डिजास्टर्स हो सकता है।
तो इस कमाल की जर्नी के लिए रेडी हो जाओ। वी आर गोइंग टू अनपैक द एंटायर मशीनरी ऑफ हाउ एन इकोनॉमी वर्क्स। और हाँ, अगर नॉलेज के ऐसे मजेदार एडवेंचर्स पसंद है तो जल्दी से चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करो, लाइक बटन स्मैश करो और आगे आने वाले सभी डीप टाइप्स के लिए नोटिफिकेशन बेल को ऑन कर लो।
लेट्स स्टार्ट। सो आज का हमारा लर्निंग मैप कैसा दिखता है? फर्स्ट वील गेट इनटू द डिफरेंस बिटवीन प्लान्ड और एक्चुअल वैल्यूज। फैंसी वर्ड्स में एक्स एंटी एंड एक्स पोस्ट। इसके बिना आगे बढ़ना इम्पॉसिबल है।
ओके।
Then we'll decode aggregate demand, looking at its two superstar components, consumption or investment.
राइट।
After that, we'll figure out कि इकोनॉमी में इक्विलिब्रियम इनकम यानी बैलेंस पॉइंट कैसे सेट होता है।
द मैजिक पॉइंट।
फिर आएगा द रियल मैजिक शो, द मल्टीप्लायर इफेक्ट, जहां एक छोटा सा स्पार्क पूरे जंगल में आग लगा देता है।
माय फेवरेट पार्ट।
और फाइनली हम उस पैराडॉक्स ऑफ थ्रिफ्ट की मिस्ट्री को सॉल्व करेंगे जिससे हमने शुरुआत की थी। रेडी फॉर द राइड?
एब्सोल्युटली, लेट्स डाइव इन।
टॉपिक 1, एग्रीगेट डिमांड एंड इट्स कंपोनेंट्स, एक्स एंटे वर्सेस एक्स पोस्ट।
ब्रॉड माइक्रो थीम, अंडरस्टैंडिंग प्लान्ड वर्सेस एक्चुअल इकोनॉमिक वैल्यूज।
Ex ante and ex post concepts. Okay, let's unpack this. पहले ये दो फैंसी साउंडिंग वर्ड्स को आसान बनाते हैं, ex ante and ex post.
बेसिकली एक्स एंटे का मतलब है प्लान्ड या इंटेंडेड, जो हम करने का सोचते हैं। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं इस साल 10 बुक्स पढ़ने का प्लान कर रही हूँ, ये एक्स एंटे है।
And ex post is what actually happens. So साल के एंड में you only manage to read 7 books. वो 7 तुम्हारा ex post रिजल्ट है।
द प्लान वर्सेस द रियलिटी।
Simple, right?
बिल्कुल सिंपल, बट इस सिंपल आइडिया में ही पूरी मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स का सीक्रेट छुपा है।
अच्छा,
बट व्हाई इज दिस सो इम्पोर्टेंट इन इकोनॉमिक्स?
let's take a great real life example. Imagine एक कार मैन्युफैक्चरर प्लान करता है कि वो इस साल अपनी इन्वेंट्री यानी गोडाउन में 1000 एक्स्ट्रा कार्स ऐड करेगा। ये है उनका ex ante या प्लान्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट।
ओके, 1000 कार्स का प्लान, गॉट इट।
लेकिन सडनली फेस्टिवल सीजन में डिमांड इतनी ज्यादा बढ़ जाती है कि उन्हें अपने प्लान स्टॉक में से भी 500 कार्स बेचनी पड़ती हैं।
ओह, सो उनका प्लान तो फेल हो गया।
एक तरह से तो साल के एंड में उनकी इन्वेंट्री सिर्फ 500 कार से बढ़ी। ये 500 उनका एक्स पोस्ट या एक्चुअल इन्वेस्टमेंट है।
इंट्रोडक्शन।
So to understand how national income is determined, we need to focus more on these planned values, the ex ante stuff.
राइट, क्योंकि लोगों और कंपनीज के प्लान्स ही तो इकोनॉमी को ड्राइव करते हैं, नॉट जस्ट व्हाट एक्सीडेंटली हैपेंड, राइट?
Background, you've hit the nail on the head. जब हम नेशनल इनकम अकाउंटिंग करते हैं तो हम एक्स पोस्ट वैल्यूज मेजर करते हैं। जीडीपी कितना था, इन्वेस्टमेंट कितना हुआ।
राइट, इट्स ऑल इन द पास्ट टेंस।
But that's like looking in the rearview mirror. To build economic models and predict the future, we need ex ante variables. What do people plan to consume? What do firms plan to invest? That's what drives the economy forward.
Core logic. So ex ante consumption is what all households are planning to spend and ex ante investment is what all firms are planning to invest. और इन दोनों का टोटल है ex ante aggregate demand.
Correct.
The key drama I guess happens when these plans don't match reality. जैसे उस कार मैन्युफैक्चरर के एग्जांपल में planned investment 1000 cars was not equal to actual investment 500 cars.
And that gap, that difference of 500 cars, is a powerful signal. It tells the manufacturer, wow, demand was way higher than I expected. Next year, I should produce more.
Ah, so the gap itself is information.
It's the most crucial information. See, the gap between ex ante and ex post guides future decisions. If the gap was the other way, if they had unsold cars piling up, it would signal them to produce less.
Real world impact. So what does this all mean for us? इसका मतलब है कि पूरी इकोनॉमिक फोरकास्टिंग इसी कॉन्सेप्ट पर बेस्ड है।
बिल्कुल, जब गवर्नमेंट अपना बजट बनाती है, वो प्लान्ड एक्सपेंडिचर और एक्सपेक्टेड रेवेन्यू को देखती है।
ओके।
जब आरबीआई इंटरेस्ट रेट्स डिसाइड करती है, वो प्लान्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट और एक्सपेक्टेड इन्फ्लेशन को देखती है। इट्स ऑल अबाउट एंटिसिपेटिंग द फ्यूचर बेस्ड ऑन प्लान्स।
कंक्लूजन।
In short, ex ante is about intentions and ex post is about results. और मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स में जब हम इक्विलिब्रियम की बात करते हैं, वी आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड अ पॉइंट वेयर एक्स एंटे एग्रीगेट डिमांड बिकम्स इक्वल टू द टोटल आउटपुट।
मतलब a point where everyone's plans perfectly match what the economy is producing.
Precisely.
Wait a second. तो क्या exposed values कभी भी ex ante values के बराबर नहीं हो सकती? Is there never a perfect match?
हो सकती है, and that magical moment is what we call equilibrium.
Okay.
When plans perfectly match reality, there are no surprises. The car manufacturer planned to add 1000 cars to inventory and actually did add 1000 cars. उस पॉइंट पर इकोनॉमी स्टेबल है।
Let me try one. If a shopkeeper planned to sell 100 shirts this month and kept her stock accordingly, but only sold 80, what is the ex ante and ex post change in his inventory?
Great example. Assuming he planned to have 0 leftover shirts from this new batch, his planned inventory change was 0.
Right.
But his actual ex-post inventory increased by 20 shirts. Economists call this unplanned inventory investment. He didn't want it, but it happened.
And this unplanned inventory increase tells him what?
It's a loud and clear signal. दोस्त, तुम्हारी demand expectation से कम थी. So next month, he should probably order fewer shirts.
देखा? It's a self-correcting mechanism.
Yes.
एक लास्ट सवाल इस पर, क्या एक्स एंटे सेविंग्स और एक्स एंटे इन्वेस्टमेंट भी अलग-अलग हो सकते हैं? मतलब हाउसहोल्ड्स ने जितना सेव करने का प्लान किया, वो फर्म्स के प्लान्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट से अलग हो सकता है?
What a brilliant question. Yes, absolutely. This is the heart of Keynesian economics.
ओह,
Households plan their savings based on their income, while firms plan their investment based on future profits. ये दोनों प्लान जरूरी नहीं कि मैच करें. और जब ये मिसमैच होता है, तभी इकोनॉमी या तो एक्सपैंड करती है या कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. हम इस पर आगे डिटेल में बात करेंगे.
okay, that's a great teaser. Now practice saying ex ante means planned, ex post means actual.
In short, to understand where the economy is going, we must focus on ex ante, planned variables, not just ex post, actual results.
Topic 2. Consumption function.
Broad micro theme. Decoding consumer spending behavior.
The consumption function. C equals to C bar plus CY. चलो, अब aggregate demand के सबसे बड़े component की बात करते हैं. Consumption, हम सबका खर्चा.
The big daddy.
ये किस चीज पर डिपेंड करता है? मोस्टली हमारी इनकम पर. द कंजम्पशन फंक्शन बेसिकली एक सिंपल सा मैथमेटिकल रिलेशनशिप है बिटवीन कंजम्पशन एंड इनकम. द फॉर्मूला इज C इज इक्वल टू C बार प्लस CY. डोंट वरी, इसको बिल्कुल आसान बना देंगे.
Let's use a real life example. Imagine करो तुम एक स्टूडेंट हो जिसको हर महीने 2000 रुपए पॉकेट मनी मिलती है. बट एक महीना फॉर सम रीजन पॉकेट मनी नहीं आई. इनकम इज 0.
ओके.
फिर भी तुम कुछ तो खर्च करोगे ना. मे बी पास सेविंग से 500 रुपए निकालकर फ्रेंड्स के साथ मूवी देखने चले गए. ये 500 रुपए तुम्हारी ऑटोनोमस कंजम्पशन है. C बार.
ऑटोनोमस मतलब जो इनकम पर डिपेंडेंट नहीं है.
Got it. The survival money.
एग्जैक्टली. अब जब तुम्हें 2000 रुपए मिलते हैं, तुम उसमें से लेट्स से 1600 रुपए खर्च करते हो. ये 1600 रुपए तुम्हारी इंड्यूस्ड कंजम्पशन है.
Induced मतलब इनकम ने कॉज किया. यस, ये वो हिस्सा है जो इनकम आने पर इंड्यूस हुआ. सो योर टोटल कंजम्पशन इज 500 रुपीज जो ऑटोनोमस था, प्लस अ पार्ट ऑफ द 1600 रुपीज व्हिच इज इंड्यूस्ड.
Introduction. Okay, so consumption is the biggest piece of the economic pie. In most countries, it's over 60% of the GDP. So अगर हम ये समझ लें कि consumption को क्या चीज ड्राइव करती है, we can understand a huge part of the economy.
बिल्कुल. The great economist John Maynard Keynes ने कहा कि in the short run, a person's consumption depends primarily on their current disposable income.
Background: autonomous consumption.
C-bar. What's fascinating here is the first part of that equation. C-bar, autonomous consumption. ये वो minimum survival consumption है जो इनकम पर डिपेंड नहीं करता.
Right, the zero income spending.
जीरो इनकम होने पर भी a person has to survive. खाना, बेसिक रेंट, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, ये खर्चा या तो पास सेविंग से आता है या बोरोइंग से.
Core logic induced consumption CY and MPC. Here's where it gets really interesting. The second part is CY. Y is your income and C is the star of our show today, the marginal propensity to consume. It sounds complicated, but it's super simple.
MPC या C is simply the fraction of additional income that you spend.
Additional income, okay.
अगर तुम्हारी इनकम 100 रुपए से बढ़ती है और तुम उस एक्स्ट्रा 100 रुपए में से 80 रुपए खर्च कर देते हो, तो तुम्हारा MPC है 80 रुपए 100 रुपए, which is 0.8. It just tells us कि हर नए रुपए में से कितने पैसे खर्च हो जाते हैं.
तो C की वैल्यू हमेशा 0 और 1 के बीच में होगी, राइट? या तो तुम एक्स्ट्रा इनकम का कुछ भी खर्च नहीं करोगे, यानी C is equal to 0, या पूरा का पूरा खर्च कर दोगे, C is equal to 1, या यूजुअली बीच में कहीं जैसे 0.7 या 0.9.
Perfect. That's the range.
Real world impact, the Imaginia case study.
Let's take the example from the book. The country of Imaginia. उनका consumption function है C is equal to 100 plus 0.8y. This simple equation tells us a whole story.
Okay, break it down for me.
First, उनकी collective autonomous consumption 100 units है. Second, उनका MPC 0.8 है.
इसका मतलब अगर इमेजिनिया की नेशनल इनकम 1 करोड़ से बढ़ती है, तो वहां के लोग मिलाकर 80 लाख रुपए एक्स्ट्रा खर्च करेंगे.
You got it. This number 0.8 is incredibly crucial for policymakers.
Conclusion. So to sum up, total consumption C is a mix of survival spending that's fixed C bar and spending that changes with our income CY. Simple and incredibly powerful. Okay, let me challenge this. अगर किसी का MPC 1 है, तो इसका क्या मतलब है? Is that even realistic?
It means they spend every single extra rupee they earn. It's rare for an entire country, but for very low-income individuals who have many unmet needs, food, shelter, medicine, it's very possible. उनके लिए हर extra rupee एक ज़रूरत पूरी करता है.
And what about an MPC of 0? A super miser who saves everything.
Yes, someone who saves every single extra rupee. Again, rare, but it's the theoretical lower limit. Maybe a billionaire who already has everything they could possibly want.
So this implies that a rich person and a poor person will have very different MPCs.
Absolutely. This is a key insight. Generally, lower income households have a higher MPC because they have more urgent needs.
Right.
A wealthier person might save a larger fraction of any additional income. That's why a tax cut for the poor often boosts the economy more than a tax cut for the rich.
Interesting. What could cause autonomous consumption C bar to change? By definition, income तो नहीं.
Great question. Things like consumer confidence. अगर लोगों को लगता है कि फ्यूचर ब्राइट है, जॉब सिक्योर हैं, they might borrow more and spend, increasing C bar.
Ah, the feel good factor.
Yes. या फिर अगर उनके एसेट्स जैसे घर या स्टॉक्स की वैल्यू बढ़ जाए तो दे फील वेल्थियर एंड स्पेंड मोर इवन इफ द मंथली इनकम हैजंट चेंज्ड.
ग्राफिकली अगर हम C equals C bar plus CY फंक्शन को प्लॉट करें तो उसका स्लोप क्या होगा?
The slope is C, the MPC. It determines how steep the consumption line is. A high MPC of 0.9 means a very steep line. A small increase in income leads to a large increase in consumption. A low MPC of 0.4 means a much flatter line.
Okay, practice saying the function out loud. C equals C bar plus CY.
In short, consumption has two parts. One fixed part that doesn't depend on income, autonomous, and one that grows with income, induced. And the rate of this growth is the all-powerful MPC.
Topic 3. Savings function and other propensities.
Broad micro theme. The other side of the coin. Saving.
Savings function and the relationship MPC plus MPS equals 1. Okay, simple logic. Income या तो spend होता है या save होता है.
The two paths.
तो savings क्या है? Simple, जो income consumption के बाद बच गया. So S is equal to YC. बहुत simple. और जैसे हमारे पास MPC था consumption के लिए, वैसे ही savings के लिए है MPS, the marginal propensity to save.
Let's go back to our MPC example. आपकी इनकम 100 रुपए से बढ़ी और आपने उसमें से 80 रुपए खर्च कर दिए. तो MPC था 0.8.
Right.
तो आपने सेव कितना किया? Obvious है 20 रुपीस. So your MPS is 20/100, which is 0.2. अब यहाँ एक पैटर्न नोटिस करो. 0.8 MPC plus 0.2 MPS is equals to 1.
Ah,
It has to be 1.
this is not a coincidence.
It always has to be 1.
Introduction. Savings is super crucial because ये investment के लिए funds का source है और investment ही future growth को drive करता है.
Absolutely.
So consumption को समझना जितना जरूरी है, उतना ही जरूरी savings behavior को decode करना है. There are two sides of the same coin.
Background. Deriving the relationship. The relationship MPC plus MPS is a mathematical certainty. It flows from logic. सोचो, कोई भी change in income delta Y है, उसके सिर्फ दो ही रास्ते हैं. या तो वो consumption में change लाएगा, delta C, या savings में change लाएगा, delta S. So delta Y equals delta C plus delta S.
And if we divide the whole equation by delta Y, we get delta Y equals to delta C delta Y plus delta S delta Y, which is simply 1 equals MPC plus MPS.
See, simple algebra.
Cool, na? Maths is beautiful sometimes.
Core logic, APC and APS. Lekin wait, there's more. Economists also use two other terms. Average propensity to consume, APC, and average propensity to save, APS.
More terms. How are they different from marginal? Marginal का मतलब तो additional था.
Exactly. Marginal is about the change in income. Average is about the total income.
Okay, total versus change.
APC is your total consumption divided by your total income, CX. For example, अगर तुम्हारी total income 10,000 है और total consumption 9,000 है, तो APC is equal to 9,000 divided by 10,000 is equal to 0.9.
And APS would be total savings divided by total income?
Exactly. SX. और पहले की तरह APC plus APS is equal to 1.
Real world impact. So why do we need all these terms? APC, APS, MPC, MPS, it's like an alphabet soup.
Because they tell different stories. MPC tells policymakers what will happen to the next rupee earned in the economy. Will it be spent or saved? This is vital for designing tax policies.
Okay.
Okay. APC, on the other hand, gives a snapshot of the entire economy's behavior right now. For example, tracking if the nation's APC is rising or falling can indicate changes in overall consumer confidence.
Conclusion. So consumption और savings एक ही income coin के दो sides हैं और उनका relationship इन चार propensities में perfectly captured है. याद रखना, marginal is about change, average is about the total. Let me see if I got this. Can APC be greater than 1?
Yes, absolutely. अगर तुम्हारी कंजम्पशन तुम्हारी इनकम से ज्यादा है, जो लो इनकम लेवल्स पर होता है जब तुम सेविंग्स यूज करते हो या बोरो करते हो, तब APC will be greater than 1. This happens to students all the time.
Right. And if APC 1, what does that mean for APS?
It must be negative because APC plus APS equal to 1. अगर APC 1.2 है, तो APS must be minus 0.2.
And a negative APS simply means you're either dis-saving या तो past savings use कर रहे हो या credit card swipe कर रहे हो.
Correct.
as income increases, what generally happens to APC? Does it rise or fall?
That's a deep and very important question. Generally, as income rises, APC falls.
Falls. Why?
A rich person spends a smaller proportion of their total income compared to a poor person, even though their absolute spending is much higher. A poor person might spend 95% of their income, APC equals 0.95, while a rich person might spend only 60%, APC equals 0.60.
Interesting. Is it possible for MPS to be negative?
No, MPS is about the change in savings from additional income. The lowest you can do is save none of the extra income, MPS equals 0. You can't save a negative amount of the new income. You can only dissave from your total income, not your marginal income.
Got it. So, to quickly calculate MPS, I can just do 1 minus MPC.
Exactly. That's the shortcut and the easiest way. If you know one, you instantly know the other.
Practice this one. MPC plus MPS equals 1. APC plus APS equals 1.
In short, every extra rupee of income is either consumed, measured by MPC, or saved, measured by MPS, and the two always add up to 1.
Topic 4. Investment function.
Broad micro theme, investment, the engine of growth.
The investment function, I equals I bar. Autonomous investment. चलो, aggregate demand के दूसरे हीरो से मिलते हैं, investment. For this simple model, we're going to make a very big assumption.
A very important one.
We assume that investment is autonomous, which means it does not depend on the current level of national income. So we write it as I equals I bar. जहाँ I के ऊपर जो bar है, it just means it's a fixed given value.
Let me give you a concrete example. A tech company decides to build a huge new campus. This multi-billion-dollar decision depends on many things. The interest rate on loans, their expectation of future demand, new technology.
A lot of things.
But it doesn't really depend on the national income of that specific year. They are looking 10 years into the future. So, for our short-run model, we just take this planned investment as a fixed number. Say 500 crores for the whole economy.
Introduction. Okay, पहले एक चीज क्लियर करते हैं. यहाँ इन्वेस्टमेंट का मतलब स्टॉक्स एंड शेयर्स खरीदना नहीं है.
Very important distinction.
In economics, investment means adding to the physical capital stock. New machines, new factories, new buildings, roads. It also includes the change in a producer's inventory. ये real assets create करता है.
Background. Why autonomous? The assumption कि investment autonomous है is obviously a simplification. Reality में जब economy boom करती है, high income, तो firms ज़्यादा invest करती हैं.
Right.
But हम ये assumption ceteris paribus के लिए करते हैं, other things remaining equal. We want to first isolate the effect of income on consumption and then see what happens when we add a fixed layer of investment on top.
So, in the real world, what are those other things? For example, higher interest rates would generally mean lower investment
Where?
क्योंकि borrowing महंगा हो जाता है.
Correct. The interest rate is the main factor we are holding constant. Another big factor is what Keynes called animal spirits.
Animal spirits.
The gut feelings of entrepreneurs about the future. If they are optimistic, investment will be high, regardless of current income. If they are pessimistic, investment will be low. For now, हम इन सब factors को constant मान रहे हैं.
Core logic. Graphical representation. This is easy then. अगर I एक fixed number है, say 20, तो उसका graph income Y के against कैसा दिखेगा? It would just be a flat horizontal line at the height of 20. Am I right?
Exactly. It doesn't slope upwards like the consumption function. चाहे income 100 हो या 1000, हम assume कर रहे हैं कि planned investment remains 20. It's a flat, stubborn line.
Real world impact. But wait, you just said that in the real world, investment depends on animal spirits. That sounds very unstable.
Yes, and that is a crucial point. In reality, investment is the most volatile and unstable part of aggregate demand.
More than consumption.
What's more? और इसीलिए it's often the main cause of business cycles. A sudden drop in investment due to bad expectations can trigger a recession. A sudden surge in investment can create a boom. So even though we model it as a stable, flat line, in reality, this I value can jump up or down dramatically from one year to the next.
Conclusion. So for our simple model, investment is a fixed exogenous value.
Yeah.
ये consumption के ऊपर demand की एक flat layer add करता है. It's the second engine of our AD vehicle, running at a constant speed for now.
Okay, let me ask a clarifying question. What's the difference between investment goods and intermediate goods?
एक कार फैक्ट्री के लिए स्टील एक इंटरमीडिएट गुड है, लेकिन वही फैक्ट्री जो नई रोबोट मशीन खरीदती है, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट गुड है.
Perfect distinction. Intermediate goods, like steel or tires, are used up completely in the production process.
Right.
Investment goods, like the robotic machine, are final goods themselves. They are not used up. Instead, they provide services over many years to produce other goods.
So a car bought by a family is consumption. But if a taxi company buys the exact same car, it's investment.
Precisely. Context is everything. For the family, it's a durable consumption good. For the taxi company, it's a capital good that will generate future income. So it's counted as investment.
What happens if unplanned inventory builds up? Let's say a company produced 1,000 cars, but only sold 900. वो 100 cars क्या है?
Great question. that connects back to our first topic. Those 100 cars are part of ex post, actual investment. But they are not part of ex ante, planned investment. Thus, they represent unplanned inventory investment.
If business confidence suddenly improves, the animal spirits are high, what happens to our EI?
The value of I itself would increase from, say, 20 to 30. Graphically, the whole horizontal investment line would shift upwards. The entire line moves up.
And that's called an autonomous change in investment, right? A change that is not caused by a change in income.
You've got it. It's a change driven by those other factors we talked about.
Practice saying, in this model, investment is autonomous and does not depend on income.
In short, we simplify investment as a fixed amount I, which provides a stable second layer of demand in our initial model on top of consumption.
Topic 5. Determination of equilibrium income.
Broad micro theme, finding the economy's balance point.
Equilibrium, where aggregate demand meets aggregate supply. Y is equal to AD. So we have the components. अब उनको जोड़ते हैं. In our simple two-sector economy, households and firms, aggregate demand AD is simply planned consumption C plus planned investment I.
So, AD is equal to C plus I.
The economy is in equilibrium when the total planned demand for goods and services, AD, is exactly equal to the total output being produced, Y. So the ultimate condition is Y is equal to AD.
Think of it like a perfectly balanced seesaw. एक साइड पर है टोटल प्रोडक्शन Y और दूसरी साइड पर है टोटल प्लांट स्पेंडिंग AD. जब दोनों साइड्स परफेक्टली लेवल हैं, तब इकोनॉमी इक्विलिब्रियम में है. There is no tendency to change.
Introduction, the algebraic method. Okay, let's do some simple, beautiful algebra to find this balance point.
Let's do it.
Step 1. We start with the equilibrium condition. Y is equal to AD.
Okay.
Step 2. We know that AD is equal to C plus I. So Y is equal to C plus I.
Simple substitution.
Step 3. We also know the functions for C and I. C is equal to C bar plus CY and I is equal to I. Let's plug these in.
So we get Y is equal to C bar plus CY plus I. Now we need to solve this for Y.
Right. Isolate Y.
So let's get all the Y terms on one side. So Y, CY equals C bar plus I.
Okay. Take Y common on the left side. Y, 1 minus C, equals C bar plus I.
And finally, divide both sides by 1 minus C to get the final equilibrium formula. Y equals C bar plus I, 1 minus C. This is a superstar formula.
Background, the graphical method. That's the math. But how do we see this on a graph? Visuals are always better.
First, we draw the AD curve. यह C curve, C equals C bar plus CY से शुरू होती है. फिर हम उसके ऊपर I, the fixed investment, को vertically add करते हैं. So the AD curve starts at a higher point, C bar plus I, but runs parallel to the C curve. उसका slope भी same है, C, the MPC.
Okay, so we have the demand curve. What about the supply curve?
The aggregate supply is simply represented by a 45-degree line from the origin.
Wait, why a 45-degree line?
Simple logic. Because on a 45-degree line, any point on the horizontal axis, income output, has the exact same value on the vertical axis. So this line represents all the possible points where total spending could equal total income. Y is equals to AS. It's a line of reference.
Core logic, the equilibrium point. So the equilibrium is simply where the AD curve intersects the 45-degree AS line. At that single magical point, AD equals AS equals Y. The seesaw is balanced. The economy is stable. Boom.
Real-world impact. What happens off equilibrium? This raises a very important question. What if the economy is not at equilibrium? मान लो Y ED से ज़्यादा है. इसका मतलब firms have produced more than people want to buy. What will happen?
The inventories will pile up. The unplanned inventory investment we talked about will be positive.
Exactly. This will signal them to cut back production in the next cycle.
And what if ADY?
People want to buy more than what's available in the shops. Inventories will start falling. This signals firms to increase production. So the economy has this amazing automatic tendency to move towards the equilibrium point.
Conclusion. So, the equilibrium level of income in an economy is determined by two key things. Looking at our formula, Y is equal to C bar plus I, 1 minus C. First, the level of autonomous spending, C bar plus I, and second, the value of the MPC, C.
Change either of these and the equilibrium will change.
Okay, here's a crucial question. This equilibrium point, does it mean everyone has a job and the economy is super healthy?
Not necessarily. This is one of the most important and revolutionary ideas from Keynes.
Really?
Equilibrium just means planned spending matches output. The economy could be in equilibrium at a very low level of income with massive unemployment. This is called a situation of deficient demand. The seesaw is balanced, but it's balanced at a very low level.
And what if the equilibrium is above the full employment level? Is that possible?
In our simple model, yes. It's a situation of excess demand. The economy is trying to produce more than its capacity. Since it can't produce more goods, this situation leads to inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods, so prices rise.
In the formula, Y equals C bar plus I, 1 minus C, what happens to equilibrium income if people become more confident and their MPC, C, increases?
If C increases, say from 0.8 to 0.9, The denominator, 1 minus c, becomes smaller, from 0.2 to 0.1.
Right.
And when you divide by a smaller number, the result is a much larger number. So equilibrium income Y will increase significantly. More spending leads to more income.
What does the term C bar plus I in the numerator represent?
It's the total autonomous expenditure. It's the part of aggregate demand that does not change with income. You can think of it as the injection of spending that gets the economy's engine started.
On the graph, what does the vertical distance between the AD line and the C line represent?
It represents the level of autonomous investment I. Since we assumed it's constant, that vertical gap between the two parallel lines is the same at all income levels.
Pause and practice drawing the equilibrium diagram, a 45-degree line and an upward sloping AD line crossing it. Label the equilibrium point E and the axes as income, Y, and aggregate demand AD.
In short, equilibrium is found where the AD line crosses the 45-degree line and it depends on two pillars, autonomous spending and the MPC.
Topic 6. The multiplier mechanism.
Broad micro theme, the ripple effect in the economy.
The multiplier. How a small change creates a big impact. Okay, this is the part that literally feels like magic. The multiplier effect. ये कहता है कि an initial change in autonomous spending, like a new investment, leads to a much larger final change in national income.
It's not one for one. It's a snowball effect.
Right.
Let's make this real. Imagine the government decides to invest 100 crore rupees to build a new highway. Delta I is equal to 100. This 100 crore rupees is paid to the construction company. ये पैसा उस company के workers, engineers and owners की income बन जाता है. This is round 1.
Okay, income increased by 100 crore. Now what?
Now suppose in this economy, the MPC is 0.8. तो ये लोग अपनी new income का 80% खर्च करेंगे.
Yani 80 crore rupees.
They will spend it on food, clothes, movies, cars, etc. This is round 2. But wait, this 80 crore rupees spending is someone else's income. The shopkeepers, the restaurant owners, the car salesmen.
Ah, I see it now. And this 80 crore rupee becomes the income for those shopkeepers. So in round 3, they will spend 80% of their new income, which is 0.880 equals 64 crore rupees.
And this 64 crore rupees becomes income for someone else. And the process continues, like a ripple in a pond.
Each round getting smaller and smaller.
Exactly.
Introduction. So the big question is, what is the total increase in income from that initial 100 crore investment? It's not just 100. It's an infinite series, 100 plus 80 plus 64 plus 51.2 plus and so on. Adding this up seems complicated.
Delta Y is simply the initial change in spending, delta I, multiplied by a magic number called the multiplier, K. So, delta Y is equal to delta I, K.
And how do we find the value of this magical multiplier, K?
The formula is stunningly simple and elegant. K is equal to 1, 1C.
1 upon 1 minus MPC.
और since हम जानते हैं कि 1C is simply MPS, S, the formula is also K is equal to 1S. The multiplier is just the reciprocal of the marginal propensity to save.
Core logic, the example from the book. Let's use the book's numbers to make this concrete. मान लो MPC is 0.8 and autonomous investment increases by 10. Delta I is equal to 10.
So, let's calculate the multiplier. K is equal to 1, 1 minus 0.8 is equal to 1 upon 0.2 is equal to 5.
The multiplier is 5.
Now, the total increase in income will be delta Y is equal to delta I K is equal to 10, 5 is equal to 50. An initial investment of just 10 leads to a total income increase of 50.
Wow.
That's the power of the multiplier.
Real-world impact. So this is why governments love to invest in big infrastructure projects during a slowdown.
Precisely. They know that every rupee they spend will have a multiplied effect on the national income, creating jobs, boosting demand, and pulling the economy out of a recession.
That makes so much sense now.
Or an important point, the higher the MPC of a country, the bigger the multiplier. A country of spenders will have a much larger multiplier than a country of savers.
Conclusion. The multiplier mechanism is a beautiful demonstration of how interconnected the modern economy is. One person's spending is another person's income. This creates a chain reaction that magnifies any initial change, for better or for worse. So if the MPC is even higher, say 0.9, what happens to the multiplier?
Let's calculate. K is equal to 1 minus 1 0.9 equals to 1 minus 0.1 is equal to 10.
It doubles.
The multiplier doubles to 10. A 100 crore rupees investment would now generate 1,000 crore rupees in total income. A tiny change in spending habits has a massive impact on the multiplier's power.
And what if the MPC is low, like 0.5?
K is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus 0.5 equal to 1 divided by 0.5 equal to 2. The multiplier is much smaller. क्योंकि लोग अपनी extra income का आधा हिस्सा सेव कर लेते हैं.
The ripple effect dies out much faster.
Does the multiplier work in reverse too? If investment falls by 10, with MPC equals 0.8, does income fall by a full 50?
Yes, absolutely. It's a double-edged sword. A fall in autonomous spending can cause a much larger fall in national income. This is what can make recession so severe and quick. A small shock gets magnified downwards.
What is the minimum possible value of the multiplier?
If MPC is equal to 0, everyone saves every new rupee, then K equals 1 by 1 minus 0 equals 1. This means if nobody spends any of their extra income, there is no ripple effect. The total change in income is just the initial change.
And the maximum, if MPC equals 1.
Theoretically, if MPC equals 1, the denominator 1 minus 1 is 0, and the multiplier would be infinite. A single rupee of investment would cycle forever, creating infinite income. Of course, this doesn't happen in reality because there are always leakages from the system.
Practice saying the multiplier formula. Multiplier K equals 1 divided by 1 minus MPC, or K equals 1 divided by MPS.
In short, any initial change in autonomous spending gets magnified into a larger change in total income. And the size of this magnification is the multiplier. K equals 1 MPS.
Topic 7. Paradox of thrift.
Broad micro theme. The surprising result of saving more.
The paradox of thrift. When trying to save more leads to saving less or the same. Okay, time to solve the puzzle we started with. The paradox of thrift. This is a truly famous and counterintuitive idea.
It really messes with your mind the first time you hear it.
It says that if everyone in the economy, every single household, decides to save a larger proportion of their income, their attempt might spectacularly fail. The total savings of the economy might not increase at all.
Let's use the book's numerical example to see this paradox in action. Initially, let's say the consumption function is C equal to 40 plus 0.8y and investment I is 10. The equilibrium income is 250. At this point, total savings are 10.
Okay, everything is balanced.
Now everyone gets scared about the future and decides to become more thrifty or frugal. They decide to save more. Unka MPC falls from 0.8 to 0.5. What happens next?
Introduction, the what is a virtue for an individual saving more is good for me may not be a virtue for the economy as a whole. This is a classic example of the fallacy of composition.
Right. What's true for a part is not necessarily true for the whole. Standing up at a concert to see better works for one person, but if everyone does it, nobody sees better. Same logic.
Background, the mechanism.
So let's trace the chain reaction. Step 1. Everyone decides to save more. Iska matlab hai, they are spending less. So the MPC, C, decreases from 0.8 to 0.5.
Which means the MPS increases from 0.2 to 0.5.
Correct. Step 2. A decrease in MPC means a decrease in aggregate demand. For any given level of income, people are now spending less. The AD curve shifts downwards, or rather it swings downwards because its slope, C, becomes flatter.
And a fall in AD means firms start seeing their goods piling up unsold, excess supply. So they will cut production.
Exactly.
Core logic, the outcome.
Cutting production means laying off workers and lower profits. This means less income for people. A vicious cycle begins.
Oh no.
Less income leads to even less consumption, which leads to even lower income. This downward spiral continues until a new, lower equilibrium income is reached. In the book's example, with the new MPC of 0.5, the new equilibrium income falls dramatically from 250 to just 100.
Wow, so the attempt to save more has crushed the national income. But what about the total savings? लोग अब अपनी income का बड़ा हिस्सा save कर रहे हैं. MPS is now 0.5.
Yes, but here's the paradox. Even though they are now saving a larger proportion of their income, their total income is so much lower that their total savings end up being exactly the same.
What? Really?
In the example, the new total savings at the new income of 100 are still 10. Their collective attempt to save more completely failed. They just made themselves poorer.
Real-world impact. This is a profound lesson for economic policy, especially during a recession.
It is.
अगर recession में हर कोई डर के मारे और ज़्यादा save करने लगे, तो it can make the recession much worse by crushing aggregate demand.
This is why governments sometimes encourage spending, not saving, during a downturn. It feels wrong, but it's based on this very logic.
Conclusion. So the paradox of thrift teaches us a powerful lesson. Savings, while essential for long-term growth, can be a problem in the short run if that saving is not matched by an equivalent amount of investment. In our simple model, an attempt to save more leads to lower income and no increase in total savings. It's a paradox that turns conventional wisdom on its head. So, is the lesson here that saving is always bad for the economy? That seems wrong.
Not at all. That's a misunderstanding. In the long run, savings are absolutely essential to fund the investment that leads to growth. The paradox applies specifically in the short-run Keynesian model, where demand is the driver of output and there are unemployed resources.
Can you explain the fallacy of composition again, simply?
Is the error of assuming that what is true for one individual is automatically true for the whole group. For one person, saving more is good and increases their wealth. But if everyone does it at the exact same time, it can harm the group by reducing total income.
Does this paradox always hold true? Will savings always remain the same?
In our specific, simple model, where investment is autonomous, a fixed number, yes, savings will return to the same level as investment. In more complex models, the result might be slightly different, but the core logic that an uncoordinated increase in saving reduces demand and income is the powerful main takeaway.
Graphically, a higher MPS, meaning a lower MPC, results in a flatter AD curve.
Correct. A lower MPC means a flatter slope. So the AD curve swings down, leading to a much lower equilibrium intersection point on the 45-degree line. The economy balances, but at a much poorer level.
So what's the solution to the paradox? How can a country actually save more and still grow?
The key is to ensure that increased savings are smoothly channeled into increased planned investment. If households save more and, at the same time, firms become optimistic and decide to borrow those savings to invest more, then aggregate demand doesn't have to fall. The fall in C is offset by a rise in I.
Practice. Explaining this in one line.
If everyone tries to save more, they spend less, which reduces everyone's income, so in the end, total savings may not increase at all.
In short, the paradox of thrift shows that an individual virtue, saving, can become a collective problem in the short run by shrinking the entire economic pie.
Wow, what a mind-bending ride. That was intense. So let's quickly recap what we've learned in this supercharged session.
Let's
Micro theme. Determination of income and employment. First, we learned the crucial difference between ex ante, what's planned, and ex post, what actually happens. This is the key to understanding all economic models.
Second, we broke down aggregate demand into consumption, C is equal to C bar plus CY, driven by income and the MPC, and investment, I is equal to RI, which we assume to be a fixed autonomous amount. We also learned that MPC plus MPS must always equal 1.
Third, we found the economy's equilibrium balance point where planned aggregate demand equals output, Y equals AD, using both the formula Y is equal to C bar plus I bar into 1 minus C and the 45-degree line graph.
Fourth, we witnessed the magic of the multiplier effect, where the multiplier K is equal to 1 minus MPC, shows how a small change in autonomous spending creates a much bigger ripple effect in national income.
And finally, we unraveled the mind-bending paradox of thrift, which shows that if everyone tries to save more at once, they might just end up making the whole economy poorer, with no extra savings to show for it.
Now, to make sure all this amazing knowledge sticks, here are a few quick challenges. Try to answer these out loud.
Go for it.
1. Explain the difference between MPC and APC in just one sentence.
2. If the MPC in an economy is 0.75, what is the value of the investment multiplier?
3. Why is the aggregate supply curve represented by a 45-degree line in this model? What does it signify?
4. What happens to a firm's inventory if the economy is operating at a point where the AD curve is above the 45-degree line?
5. Describe the paradox of thrift as if you were explaining it to a 5th grader who just got some pocket money.
6. If autonomous investment, I, increases, what happens to the AD curve? Does it shift upwards parallelly, or does its slope change?
Good ones.
And here's one simple challenge for you. Pick a small imaginary autonomous investment, say 50 crore rupees, and pick an MPC you like, let's say 0.6. First, calculate the multiplier, then calculate the total change in income. Now try to rehearse presenting this entire multiplier mechanism story from investment to final income out loud in under 60 seconds. Go on, try it.
That's a great challenge.
We'll leave you with one final provocative thought. We've discussed this entire model by assuming that prices are fixed. But think about this. What happens when demand in the economy becomes so high that there are no more unused resources, no more unemployed workers? Can output keep increasing forever, or must something else give way? Perhaps prices begin to rise, leading to inflation. That's a question for another day.
And that's a wrap on a super deep dive into the determination of income. Cool, Thana? If you enjoyed this journey and want more such energetic knowledge sessions, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment with your biggest aha moment from today, and share this with a friend who loves to learn cool new things. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning.